afternoon. This presentation speaker is Ms. Valorie Starr. Ms. Starr is the Library Director at Weatherford College. She is responsible for the selection of print and online resources as well as library services at all Weatherford College campuses. She has a BA in Slavic Languages and Literature, Russian, from the University of Kansas, and an M.S. in Library Science from the University of Maryland. Her professional experience includes large academic research libraries, Johns Hopkins University, and small private colleges and the corporate world companies. This is her 7th year at Weatherford College. Ms. Valorie Starr.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you all for coming today. So, are there still libraries? And this is a question I've actually had people ask me this question in the last couple of years. And granted, it's been from non-academics, so people who, once they got past having kids and story time in the public library, really don't think too much about libraries, so to speak. So it really resonates with me because of the amount of time I've been in academic libraries, which is going on 25 years now, and to see how we do have a changing role of the academic library. And thank you very much for coming today to support the Interdisciplinary Academic Conference here. So, the changing role of the academic library, or as I call it, what libraries really do. What are we really doing behind the curtain? So, what I want to talk about today, based on my experience, is to show you and explain kind of more detail what goes on behind the scenes with regard to 3 groups of stakeholders. What does the library really do for students? And for my presentation, I will be focusing on undergraduates and their needs, which are definitely different from post-baccalaureate institutions. What we do for faculty, also more geared for community college, four-year college, not so much for your post-baccalaureate. And also, what does the library do in terms of administration within an institution? So, starting off with the students. What students think we do? For many students, you say library and it reminds them of that story time in the summer reading program that their parents took them to. Beyond that, also we have some students who come here, they may never have used their high school library. Some very small towns don't even have a library anymore. So, for the students who have done some kind of research, when they come to us, what they think we do. We're study space. There's a positive perception that everyone is welcome, and I think this is one of the best things about libraries. Library always has a positive connotation. People feel like this is the one place on campus everybody is welcome, and that is true. It does not discriminate based on what is your academic discipline or anything like that. Everybody's welcome in our space. Services that we provide, printing, help with writing papers. They usually know about that in some big way. And also, we've got collections, print and online. Print, they expect a library usually to have some books, not that they're using them very often, sometimes. Databases, and what we hope, at least for most students, is that during orientation and during their first semester at college, they're at least going to be given a brief introduction. So at least this is some of the first things that come to their mind when they think about the library. Well, what do we really do? What do we really do to enhance the study space? We evaluate how and when the students use the study space. So we're looking at what are our traffic patterns, what's the demand for our space, both the private study spaces like the study rooms that we can check out versus the collaborative space. Noise control. No, we don't go around shh anymore. We will go around and say, hey, you guys, you are really into your group activity. There's a study room over here where you guys, with a big study table, you guys can spread out and really work on your project. So we're aware of trying to make our space usable and inviting, and also flipping the space. When is it the study rooms are for groups because the rest of the library is quiet? And when are the study rooms for individuals, people needing quiet space, versus the rest of the library is a bit of a buzz of activity. Having the appropriate furnishings for group work, like those big study tables. Comfort, having couches and things. You know, we will have some people who come in and they're there for several hours at a time. So they'll be working at maybe a computer workstation. Well, they want to get up and move around, take a little break, go sit in one of the comfy chairs or the couches. The technology that we offer. Charging stations, we have that. What do we have in the rooms? Everything that's electrical, you can plug in your devices to the tables. We've got projectors. You can check out the HDMI cables and things, so if they bring their own devices, they can do that. Lower end technology, obviously whiteboards, dry erase markers, mobile glass boards, that's something new. So that they come in and they've got a space that's equipped for them to just sit down and do their work. And the other thing with the study space is security, to keep the spaces safe. Mainly, are we aware of what's going on in the off hours? That's a big thing. Library is one of the few places on campus that is open beyond 8 to 5. We have the evening and the weekend hours. So being aware of who's in our space, knowing the regulars who come in. Also being on the radar with security on campus, campus PD, so that whoever works that evening shift, it's just always in their head, yep, there's people over in the library, go check on them, come over, help us close up and all of that. This is more of a concern. This year I served on a reaccreditation panel for a program here, and one of the questions they asked was, do you have a tentative plan in case of an active shooter? In a library, honestly, that's something we have to consider because of our open hours, because of our access. For these undergraduates, enhancing the services, printing, maintaining supplies. Nobody likes to walk up and go, it's out of paper, it's out of toner, thinking ahead on that. That also ties in with IT support. When we got problems with money's not showing up on print accounts, print jobs aren't being sent, so having good relations with IT so that they come over, they address those issues. Also issues when the printer is down for whatever reason. Sometimes there are things we can troubleshoot, sometimes they're admin level that only IT can take care of. Another big thing that we have as far as a service point with students is troubleshooting the downloads and the formats. Because a lot of students who come in, they may feel they're real tech savvy because they can run apps on their phone, but you tell them, okay, is that a Word doc? Is that a PDF? And where are you working on that? Are you working in Office 365? Are you working on the actual application on this computer? Are you in Canvas trying to access this? Printing some of those formats. Also, if they're trying to print from their iDevice or their laptop going through the wireless. So there's all those little things that we help them with. Down to the more traditional things of helping them with writing their papers. Information gathering, shaping a topic. We've just this week had questions that come through our Ask the Librarian where they say, this is my topic, I'm not finding anything. So it's okay. Think about your keywords. How are you going to structure your search? Is your topic too broad? Is your topic too narrow? So getting them to think about those things opposed to just they go to Google and they put in something and they kind of go off and maybe they find what they want and maybe they don't. Tutorials that we offer so that they have access 24/7 to some kind of tool that will step them through using our resources. And of course the introduction to citation styles. Most of the classes in which we teach research instruction, they will already say, oh, we're using APA, we're using M.L.S. So we are usually their first introduction to that. For more detailed help, we'll send them to the Writing Center, but we're usually the first contact they have when they have a citation style. What's that? And referrals. Writing Center, tutoring for that extra help. Collections for these undergraduates. These are usually new for all undergraduates coming in. Now we have traditional reserves, some of their textbooks on reserve, some of them not. OER, Open Educational Resources. This is now becoming more common as we try to mitigate the cost of textbooks for students. We don't have this here right now at Weatherford, but there are other schools and there are a lot of different variations on how other institutions are trying to kind of move into a different paradigm as opposed to just a print textbook. Access codes have a big impact on that. Also enhancing the collection, the online content for all levels of the curriculum. Now here at a community college, it's certainly more focused because we're just the first 2 years, of course. bigger schools, they're having to think on a much wider scale, not just as introductory resources, but what are specialized resources to support certain programs. Certain programs, they actually, a library is required to provide resources. I believe even for a chemistry degree, you have to provide certain resources for that to support that degree program. So we make sure we've provided the content they need, as well as directing them to that content. Also, to make collections usable, I think it's interesting, since I've been at larger research institutions, you know, to me a library is 4 stories with multiple stacks, and you have different collections, and you've got a big collection that's all the periodicals all over here and that sort of thing. And for some students here that come from very small rural schools, they walk into our library and it is overwhelming for them. They have never been in what to me just feels like one big room. It's 2 floors, but really it's just one big room. But for them to come in, they feel intimidated by it. They've never seen library conference call numbers, so they kind of wander around, and you can tell, we look at them and go, okay, I think that one needs a little bit of help. Go and ask them, what are you looking for? Well, I was looking for a book on this. Have you used our library catalog to find that? So to make what for them is an overwhelming experience of trying to find resources, putting holds, showing them how, hey, you can search our catalog, you find something you want, put a hold on it. We will pull it for you. We will tell you when it's available. You can come in and get it. And Interlibrary Loan, how to get resources from other schools, resources we don't know, which as a community college is vital for us that we provide that. And this last 2, the holds and the ILL, most students, that's completely new to them. You know, it's not something that is as well known when you're just using public libraries, and certainly high school libraries don't participate in that. So done with students, moving on to faculty, our second group of stakeholders. And what do faculty think we do? And I have to say, I still love the mummy where she stands up and says, I am a librarian. One of my favorite movie moments for librarians. So what faculty think we do, granted this image appeals more to, say, older generation faculty who did not have access really to as much online resources. Now faculty who within the last 5 to 10 years who have completed advanced degrees, they are certainly more well-versed in online resources. But, you know, from a nostalgic point of view, a lot of faculty, if we are curating these wonderful rare books in this collection and making sure everything is in order. But we don't make messes like she did. So, in the broad sense, what's faculty think we do? We maintain collections to support the curriculum that they are teaching, they're providing to students. That we provide support for their students. Like, okay, you need help with that paper, go to the library, they'll help you find some peer-reviewed resources. Let them explain to you what peer review is. Or primary sources, secondary sources. You know, they may give them the brief introduction to the student says, I have to find a primary source. So they bring that to us and we introduce them to that and how to find that. And then also what faculty think we do is providing support for their own research. And this kind of varies depending on the level of institution where you are. But what are we doing to help them? Because they need to continually progress in their professional development as well. Or for the ones that are with you and they are working on another advanced degree, what can we do to help them? So what are we really doing behind the scenes, behind the curtain, to provide these services? Well, how we enhance the collections for curriculum support, evaluating usage and format. So last year I looked at the previous 4 years of database usage here on this campus, all the resources for which I pay on my budget. And I organized them in terms of what supported each particular program, sent it out to faculty, said, here's a resource in your area, it's being well used. Here's one that is not being well used. This one, can we find something else? Number 1, do you have a suggestion for me of something I could order instead? Number 2, I can give you some ideas what else might be out there. So the best outcome with that for our humanities program, they had a number of databases that were underutilized. We were able to find some other options with them, and it's been good. So now we're starting off on something new. In a couple of years, you start evaluating how are those things used. So it's kind of an ongoing process to make sure that what you're providing fits with what is needed for the students and sometimes for the faculty. Troubleshooting access to online material. Several times each semester we will have faculty members. They're trying to embed a link, usually to a video that's in one of our databases, and they'll say, look, the students they're getting a turn away, they can't get in. So understanding the technical, kind of the gateways to get through our resources. So helping instructors with that. Accreditation requirements. So the library is always a part of this on the big scale, such as with SACS, Southern Association, which we will be addressing in the next year and a half. That's looking at the library overall. So what do I, as the director, do to support curriculum on all of our campuses and support all of our different programs? Also, the library is often contacted when it's particular programs that have to be accredited by outside bodies. Physical therapy assistant program this year, so I went and sat in on a session. And they have specific questions about what are the resources you're providing, how accessible are they. And also for new programs, for our new RN to BSN, I have to provide a list of resources. I've also had to evaluate and expand the resources that we offer for nursing because that BSN program is going to stretch us. I also have to do the same thing for our new bachelor's in organizational leadership. So it's really looking at what do we have and keeping it current, making sure that we meet those accreditation requirements. Now, also with faculty, enhancing support for students, and that kind of is indirect for faculty, the citation style guides, making sure those are available. Research, the in-class instruction, because we want to come in and support what a faculty member is teaching. So all of our instruction sessions can be tailored for a particular class. So you don't have to worry about, you as a faculty member don't have to worry about, okay, have I shown them everything they could use? You know, we can come in and help support with that. So are you tired of getting some really ugly citations and this came off a website, I don't even what? Why are they finding this? And also with the tutorials that we have on our website, we find those very useful, especially when we have so many online students and dual credit students to say, look, we know that you can't always get to us when we're open. Here's where you can get some self-service tools that will at least get you started. Also helping students navigate the online courseware. So we have to help students upload documents to Canvas, up to their class sometimes. We'll have students who come in, I'm supposed to take a test in here, maybe it's not open yet. So we also have to help them with navigating Canvas. Also, all of these instances here, they're wonderful opportunities that facilitate communication with the faculty. And this is really good for us. It gives us opportunities to reach out to faculty. Hey, one of your students came in. They had a scavenger hunt. We need to give you a heads up. Some of the resources you're referencing we don't have anymore. You know, we've moved to something else. So let's keep you current about that. Maybe you can work this in with your curriculum, with your course assignments. Your student came in asking for a textbook. We're not sure which edition are you using. We've had two instructors teaching the same course. One uses one edition, one uses something different. So these are all opportunities where we have to, we hope, bridge a communication gap sometimes, or it's a good opportunity for us to reach out to faculty to say, hey, your students are coming to us, we want to help them. What can you do to help us help them? And so that we can all be on the same page. And the other thing that comes up infrequently, but enough, copyright questions that we get. And these kind of, they're odd, and they come from different areas. We've dealt with wondering, can we use a recording of a fine arts production and put that into a PR piece? Nope, can't do that. So we're asked to kind of, do we know fair use? But then how are we allowed to use some of the material that we have? We have one instructor here wrote a piece of music. It was performed at a conference, or at a performance, one of our performances here. So he wanted to have just a snippet of that for himself on his DVD. Yeah, that's not a copyright violation. He wrote that piece of music. That's his. Other things where we've had questions, what goes into intermediate? So that's the platform that we use to host content, online content, or books, things like that, portions of books that then are accessed through Canvas. So does this fall within fair use or copyright guidelines? Is that permissible? And then, you know, every now and then we do have a student who says, could you scan my textbook for me? Okay, no. No, we can't do that. That does not fall within copyright. And then it does come down to, people tend to think of us, since we deal with books and with publishers, that we are a go-to for copyright. Now, we also will consult with our council, our college council here on campus for some things as well. And for enhancing support for faculty research, this last area, what the library does, we can get more into some expert searching strategies and tools. Here at community college, not so much, but certainly at your bigger research institutions where you've got librarians who are liaised with particular departments, they're subject specialists, and so they will know more about how can you structure a search and some more specialized resources, how to effectively utilize those. Of course, Interlibrary Loan. Most places are going to be very dependent on Interlibrary Loan. There's no way, unless you're a big research institution like a UT, a UNT, or an A&M, you're not going to have most of what a faculty member needs. So making sure that we can obtain the materials they need. Accessing specialty archives. This is where your librarians get to use their network. So last year, our president, he needed an article, and it was in UNT's digital archive. Now, there was no way to download a copy of this out of their archive, and there was no way for us through our standard interlibrary loan request system to put in a request for it. It didn't fall, it wasn't cataloged in a way that we could request it. So we called UNT directly, same day, they sent us the article. So it's part of that network that we have as professionals with each other that we can use to help support faculty research. And also with this one, providing workspace and printing for faculty, really my heart here is with the adjuncts. And we have in our library a couple of workstations that are for adjunct use. Adjuncts oftentimes don't have a dedicated office space where they can go, or oftentimes it's space they share with other adjuncts. And sometimes the space is not centrally located. You know, yeah, it's an office, but it's often another building. You have to find your way to it. So once again, with the library, we are centrally located, easily accessible, most open hours. We've also had adjunct faculty host their office hours in the library. They say, no, it's in one place, students can't find them. You know, they may walk in the building and go, which couch are they sitting on? But they can at least find the building and come in and meet with their adjunct instructor. So I think that's a very important thing that we do. For our last group, what administration thinks we do? Now, the question of, are there still libraries? Oh, administration knows there are still libraries because they see the bottom line and they see the budget. And it's been said before that the library and IT kind of fall into the black holes when it comes to a budget, because a lot of what we do isn't necessarily tangible. You know, it's really hard to count your ROI on a database. I have different metrics I use, which, like I said, my usage statistics. But for administration, yes, sometimes they think we're the money pit, as they're the ones having to allocate the budget to us. So yes, a substantial budget, and this large physical footprint that requires maintenance. You know, that's the other thing. If something, lots of times if something's going to break, where's it going to be? The library. Why? Because we get the most traffic and we have the most open hours. You know. So what do we really do to kind of justify why we exist? Why there is still a library? Savvy stewardship of the funds, which is important because I just had to submit the budget for next year. Stewardship of the funds, updating the collection. So going in with the online piece, looking at what's used, what isn't used, getting feedback to make sure that I'm getting my money's worth out of what I'm paying for. Also, the print collections, we did a lot of weeding in the last 6 years. So that's been very important to keep the collection current, also create more space. price compare on the resources. That's something I do frequently, looking at, okay, especially with budget. There's one resource that we've had that, honestly, it hasn't performed the way I wanted it to perform. Faculty haven't liked it. I've had some feedback that said, no, this really doesn't do what we want it to do. Okay, well, I need to find you something else. That's my job. And find something else that is going to be cost effective as well. That is something that I look at, of course. And also justifying, holding the vendors accountable. So with the access, one of the issues I had with a vendor, mobile access, you know, now I really have an expectation now that any resource I provide, it's got to be mobile friendly. We have so many students, especially when you have a lot of students that, you know, they come from a financially strapped background. They don't have a laptop, they have a phone. So making sure that those resources are accessible, testing them from off campus is also a big issue with our dual credit classes. I've been on site at a number of our ISDs, and boy, the way they configure their network can really hamstring students being able to access our resources. So I want to hold the vendors accountable that they are doing and meeting my expectation of what I'm paying for. Competitive product. Am I paying for something that is staying current and offering the search features, offering the content? In my 12 years, I have done 2 migrations, moving away from an old library system to a newer system, because the newer system offered better functionality both for the staff and also for the end users, had a much better search interface, integrated some services that made it seamless or at least easier access for a student to find resources. And for me on the administration side, was giving me a bigger bang for my buck. Because I could say, look at this one service and everything it provides versus if we stay with our current vendor, look at what else I have to pay for to get the same functionality. So that's important. And vendor reliability. You know, are they there when I need them to be there? Are they there when the students need them to be there? So that goes a bit hand in hand in access. Justifying this large physical footprint. Well, we do that by providing technology and furnishings that are functional and professional. You know, I want to see people in my library. You know, I don't want this to be the quiet, it's here for the books. That's not what a library is anymore. Certainly not a library at a community college. We are here to be used. We need to be a space. And so having the furnishings, like I said, the couches, you know, or work tables, or the technology. That's important, and it's not just for the students. You know, one of our meeting rooms in the library, very, very popular. Because we provided the technology, we provided the tables, the seating, that makes it a good place for meetings, for interviews. And also, library central location. You can tell a vendor, come meet us at the library. Well, you know what? They can get a campus map in front of the library. It's a lot easier for them. So to have a space that is functional, that makes a good impression. But speaking of making a good impression, what's one building that is always on a campus tour? It's a library. So that is a big sell point. You want to bring people in, prospective students, parents. You want to bring them into a library that looks professional and contemporary, provides the services such as here, tech stop is in here, writing center is in here. You know, come on in. This is a place where you can come and do your homework that's going to help your studies. So having a library that is functional and professional, that's important. That's a selling point. That's an asset. Also within our larger space, those added services. We don't have tutoring in our library. Really, we're a bit small, but you know, you will see some combination of these services in bigger libraries, or sometimes called learning commons. So it's also justifying, why do we have so much space? Why do we need the maintenance? Look at the services we are providing that serve everybody. They don't just serve one department. And they don't necessarily just serve students, they'll also serve faculty. A lot of faculty that come into Tech Stop because they need equipment as well. So that's what we do for administration. And also the safe and secure space for extended open hours. So yes, there are still libraries. And what we really do to make all of this happen, among all of these things where we are kind of doing behind the scenes, behind the curtain, is our teamwork. It's a teamwork within the library staff, and it's us working together with our students. What do they need? With the faculty, with the administration. So it's really looking at continuously evaluating what do we offer, what is used, what isn't, soliciting feedback, what can we change, what can we do better. But it's all about teamwork so that we are here as a support. So yes, there are still libraries. I'm very proud to be a part of the libraries. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I would be happy to take them at this time.
I have two.
Yes.
Is Weatherford College on the way to transitioning to online textbook format?
That, the library, from that I can help support. There are certain options such as one, it's called 1BUU, such as you can have one electronic textbook for unlimited users. And that is sometimes paid out of a library budget, so libraries can do that. What we have found currently, when instructors are using a textbook and they require an access code. So it may not even just be a textbook, it's really an access code so that they have to submit their homework through Pearson, being the biggest vendor that we have. That really makes us providing anything obsolete, even the print textbook. Because I have purchased expensive textbooks like the math textbooks. They don't get used in the library because those students have to have an access code to submit their homework. So that is something I feel is more of a faculty-driven, yes, that's a faculty-driven approach. And yes, I will be happy to go with that, and I will be happy to reallocate resources to that. But until there's a paradigm shift, and faculty are looking at perhaps open stacks or some other ways where they are going to accept homework from students, that to me, I'm really kind of a secondary. I'll step in and support, but I don't feel that I'm a driving factor in that because the faculty are the ones who determine their curriculum. They determine the text they want to use. That is their area of expertise, it's not mine.
And then the second one, when you talk about the interlibrary loans, does that include allowing students that house here on campus utilize libraries like at Tarleton or TCU or UNT?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So interlibrary loan, luckily here the state of Texas is so big, you know, that a lot of what we need is here in a Texas school. And Texas libraries don't charge each other. That's just, we pretty much lend among each other and we don't charge each other for the most part. But yes, we do have access to that. And if we get to a point, and this is really, I've only seen this when you're at, say, postgraduate research, where they are looking for some very niche published materials that are only outside the United States, that you get into, you really can't get it for free. There's a cost. So libraries are usually able to get everything for free. Certainly at community college level, we've rarely run into an instance where we were looking for a material that we couldn't get. So that's, yes, interlibrary loan, save them the trip, why go to Tarleton? That's how we borrow. And also by the same token, we lend. So we do not charge anybody when we lend our materials out. And that's something libraries, that's why we work to level the playing field of things. Any other questions or comments?
We appreciate what you do as faculty.
Thank you.
Very much so.
Thank you very
And I
much.
think that your role is becoming increasingly important as a mechanism to help students understand the importance of reading and investigating and moving beyond sound bites. So I think the library status has gone up, even though you might not feel that way, you have in my mind. I think that the depth and richness that libraries offer is really important. Beyond a Google soundbite.
Yes.
So.
And that's what we're pushing for.
Well, good.
And we appreciate the faculty,
Yeah.
such as you, who want to help us with that. We love to go in and teach research instruction in a class where the instructor is saying, hey, and the library will help you do this, and oh, can you show them this? Do you know this? So there's a real synergy there. And being able to say, yeah, we can help you with finding the primary resources. We can help you with, yeah, what is peer review? How to find that. Okay. So we're very glad to be, certainly to be a part of that, and yes, get them beyond thinking about, yeah, what did you find on Google? What website did you go to?
It's critical, I think. So
Thank you very
that's
much.
off to the library.
I appreciate it from a student's perspective. You got an old building where pretty much all the knowledge in the world you can get, it's in there.
Thank you.
You dig it out.
Thank you. We do. We try to make it as accessible as possible. And it's one other thing to talk about making it accessible. It doesn't directly affect us down here at the community college level, but are any of you familiar with Elsevier? It's a big academic publisher. You would be at your institution, yes. Elsevier is a Dutch publisher. They've been in the business for decades, and they publish many of the very high-end prestigious research journals. They have also been incredibly expensive. I mean, exorbitant pricing. And finally, last year, a year ago this time, the University of California system just said, we are not negotiating with you anymore. We do not want to be paying you $11 million a year. And a lot of this research, why should we be paying for this? A lot of it is taxpayer supported. So even though the federal government has said anything that's supported by a grant, well, that has to at least in 6 months go out and be available, say in PubMed or some publicly available non-pay. And Elsevier is still skirted around this. So finally you got the University of California system where the libraries in March, a year ago, said, well, we're done. We're not re-upping a contract with you. This is just, frankly, extortion, really what it is. And so it came around July, Elsevier finally said, nope, you have no more access to anything. And what I think is wonderful is that in the fall, UC got a lot of their faculty. So, and we're talking the whole UC system, so some of the premier researchers in the world, and they give away their services for free to Elsevier because they sit on editorial boards. Why does Elsevier have peer-reviewed journals? Because it's prestigious for these faculty who have done research to review each other's work. And they give that away for free. And Elsevier repackages it and sells it back at an exorbitant price. And so the faculty at UC got on board and they said, you know what, we're not doing this for you anymore. That takes away the value. And that's wonderful where you've seen library teamwork with the faculty saying, look, you need to help us out. We are just paying hand over fist for material that really should be available for free, or certainly at a reduced cost. And I'm very happy to say the only system that rivals UC is UT. And now in Texas, I know that you've got UNT, UT, A&M, and even some of the smaller schools. I know University of Dallas, because they paid for Elsevier products. You are now getting a group of libraries that have been Elsevier customers here in the state of Texas. And they are starting to work together to go up against Elsevier this year to say, you know what, it's time that we renegotiate.
I'll just add one comment. You mentioned OER a little bit, and I was really instrumental in OER in Washington State. And so that paradigm has shifted there.
Good.
And you know, the courses, I wrote the lifespan psychology text. Lumen Learning now has it. I've been teaching that for about 20 years, and a lot of money has been saved. And a lot of colleges have adopted it. It's free. It's free, and the mentality is that kind of like that. You don't own information.
Right.
You know, you don't capitalize on information. I mean, openness is ubiquitous with our internet system. So you know, still it's a publisher kind of a
publishers are running
head-to-head thing, I know,
yes.
but we went through it, and we are on the other side of it, at least there. And
good.
It'd be great for, and I know Texas, the Fort Worth Medical Center, they're definitely, you know, they're not doing textbooks and charging and all that type of thing. So fingers crossed that mentality will hit. Save students a lot. For sure.
Most definitely. All right, well, looking at, there's still a little bit of time to talk, or we want to head out to your next session. Thank you very, very much for attending. Appreciate it.